Yes, they fought savagely, for they were a primitive people, and self-preservation is a primitive instinct.
They say history is written by the winners, and that's surely the case when it comes to the way Native Americans have been portrayed in the movies. Now, we all know that every movie needs a villain, but during the last 100 years, more than 4,000 movies have cast Indians in that role, depicting them as bloodthirsty savages.
Scenes of peaceful wagon trains being attacked by marauding Indians were common plot devices in Westerns.
I grew up at a time when John Ford and John Wayne and Randolph Scott et al. Were massacring Indians with single shots.
Turn around, dirt.
Run on! Yeah, that was in the late 40s, and I was in elementary school in Vallejo, California. Because of those movies, my brother and I were the only Indians in the neighborhood and in town and in school. We had to fight our way out of those theaters.
Well, as children, that's who we saw. So we never saw our own image in its reality. And so we had to create our own image. From the time we were growing up, to be strong and proud of who we were was a joke. You couldn't do it.
Indians run their dot-gum, dot-blasted sheep over our land just like they owned it.
Why don't they stay on the reservation where they belong?
My son asked me this one time. He goes, "Where are the Indians, Mom? Why don't they have them in this movie?" And I was like, well, maybe that's when they put us on the res.
Motion pictures in the United States have been made for white audiences to make money and to portray history. I don't think it's fair to say just to make money, but it is fair to say that the white audience has predominated.
The white men of the West cannot and will not recognize the testimony of those Indians who slaughtered, massacred, and ambushed our parents.
The tribes of the North meet at River Rock to once and forever wipe out all white.
Well, I think that the bottom line is they weren't looking for an accurate portrayal. They weren't trying to tell a Native American story. They were trying to tell a Euro-American story.
Man doesn't forget easily when his wife and kids were butchered.
Cheyenne, wasn't it?
Cheyenne, Apache, Blackfoot Sioux. They're vicious killers, all of them. They ain't even human.
Not only was the portrayal of the Native American unrealistically negative, but the portrayal of the white man was often unrealistically positive.
Ultimately, you have some contest between the white guy, who is the exemplar of the rugged frontiersman on the one hand, and Indians on the other. And the white guy beats them every time. He's better at being an Indian than they are. There's nothing a white man's not better at being than an Indian.
Horrifying pages in the bloody annals of Indian warfare. A vivid recreation, the day when a lost patrol found the garrison of Fort Bowie slaughtered to the last man.
Tomahawk Trail is a classic Western formula. It talks about Indian ferocity. It talks about Apache atrocities. It shows essentially the American army and American settlers outnumbered and threatened by an overwhelming force of Native Americans.
Never have so few so bitterly avenged the victims of Apache savagery.
It was just the opposite. Historically, we're talking about the Native Americans were overwhelmed by white population and settlement. But for the sake of the motion picture, and unfortunately to perpetuate the image of the savage Native American, history is turned around and modified to suit the formula.
What happened?
They've had their hair cut by Huron barbers.
How can you speak so unfeelingly?
Unfeeling, Miss Monroe. I knew these folks and blazed the trail that brought them here. This is how my parents died, fire and scalping knife.
Thanks to Hollywood, this country refuses to face what happened to Indian people.
It takes a blue coat to make a white man a soldier. But a Cheyenne is a soldier from the first slap on his butt. War is his life. He's fierce, he's smart. And he's meaner than sin.
And scalps to the Indians, Major, are like your medals and gotten by the same means, killing.
By ignoring the Indian and what we have to say, you are dooming your own country. Because there is a saying, a nation that does not know its history has no future.